Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the podcast. This is the Finch Show, and I am James Finch. On this episode of the podcast, my guest is Kayla, who goes by Built by Beans on Instagram, and she's just such a phenomenal person. She's a 3D printer, cosplayer. She's done some really neat things. I definitely highly recommend go checking her out on Instagram. And we talked about a great many things. I really enjoyed talking to her. I'm going to stop with this intro and just get right into it. Ladies and gentlemen, here's Kayla. All right, Kayla. I first of all, you popped up on my radar just from that awesome Boba Fett costume that you did. How did that come together?
Yeah, so that was an interesting project. I have not really been like when it comes to Star Wars, I am a newbie to the game. And so I jumped in. I started watching the movies actually, I think around like 1 year ago today, which is kind of ironic. And so with that came that appreciation for Boba Fett, obviously, like the strong, silent character. And then when the show came on, or before the show came on, there was the announcement that Boba Fett was going to be there. And I was like, okay, this is a whole show devoted to this like really cool guy. And so I tried to be smart and jump on the train early when Do3D released their files, because at the time I think they were one of the first people and a couple other people were. And I usually I've gone through Do3D a few times now, but it's not like my primary source I like to go through for files. But I was like, I would love to get something on board to do a whole Boba Fett cosplay. And I don't know what it is, but I've been like cosplaying all male characters so far. So I was like, this is just another one to add to the books. And if I can get it done before the show, maybe that would be good to kind of get a little bit more of an audience and, all that good stuff. So I just got started on that. And then the show came out, which there was a lot of mixed reviews, which I can agree with. It was not really what I thought Boba Fett would be portrayed as in the show, but I really did enjoy learning about the storyline for other characters. So that was what I did. And then I did one of the contests in Kansas City at the Comic-Con there with that one. So that was before even, picking a character. I wanted to do a contest before I moved. And so I was like, okay, everyone likes Boba Fett. I love Boba Fett. And then so it came to be through that.
Well, that I could see that show having mixed reviews because I think, if you go just with the canon, we really actually didn't know a lot about Boba Fett, even though he was a legend. And I think storytelling wise, that's kind of dangerous because that means everybody puts their own impression of what they think the character is on it ahead of time. Yeah, I wouldn't want to be the person to have to write that show because no matter what you do, people are going to be mad at you. I did. Yeah. And I noticed that. How long have you been cosplaying altogether?
So that would also be around a year, a little bit less, because when I started 3D printing, I didn't know that I was going to get into cosplaying from that. It has always been something I've had on my radar and enjoyed, like watching on like YouTube, like seeing Comic Cons and stuff and seeing people put stuff together. But I never had like the finances growing up or kind of like the support either. So my first Comic Con was in Kansas City last year, which I think was around August.
What was the first character you ever cosplayed?
So the first character I ever cosplayed was Taskmaster. To my knowledge, I think I'm still the only female who has done the movie version so far, which that's kind of a cool thing to have under my belt. But I did the same exact thing when it came to the movie. I didn't even know. I don't know if I can even give spoilers at this point since it's been so long, but when the whole controversy with the gender of Taskmaster became a thing and people really just like crapped on the movie, like I enjoyed it quite a bit. But I know a lot of people who didn't watch it, didn't know who I was, and all that stuff. So I kind of jumped the gun, just like I did with Boba Fett, going into it of saying like, this is a cool character. It's new. There was a really cool armor set on Do3D as well that was pretty accurate based on what I was looking at, and came out super good. But then, yeah, but I got a lot of great reviews, like people talking at Comic-Con, like looking me over and stuff. There was this guy, do you know who Evil Ted is?
I don't think so.
Okay, I didn't know at the time, but he was a guy who's known for a lot of prop making and cosplay armory and stuff like that. I think he does some work with leather potentially, but he pulled me aside and was like, this is really cool. And I think that was like a really good founding moment, because at the time I thought it was just some random guy at a booth. I'm like, thanks, man, this is cool. And he was asking me questions. And then he turned to be out like the keynote speaker at the convention. I was like, oh my God. But the fact that he noticed me, and then I realized how popular he was in the community, it made me feel really good of taking that next step. So in the end, despite it not being as well received just because of like the lack of support from like the audience or like people watching the show, it is still probably one of my favorite things that I've cosplayed.
Mm-hmm. What so you said that cosplay wasn't the reason you got into 3D printing. What was the reason you got into 3D printing?
So the reason why I got into 3D printing, like most people probably who recently got into 3D printing, I saw like a video on TikTok, and it was between like Emily the engineer and Frankly Built, of course. And with that, I always grew up wanting to have a really cool like nerd cave, where I wanted to have it like a whole decked out marble wall. And for me, before I even got into 3D printing, I had an obsession with Iron Man, and like had my whole PC set up to be kind of themed for that, and things like that. So it was kind of just slowly one thing that led to the other, where I saw their stuff of Iron Man, and I was like, I could make a whole wonderful wall of all the stuff that I can make myself. And I've always been someone who really likes working with my hands and kind of creating and crafting. So with that came, I needed a tool to do that, which was 3D printing. And then I started looking into other things, bigger things, armor sets. And then I was like, I could actually start cosplaying now. And with my move to, as here in St. Louis, there's such a great support system for 3D printing, as well as the people I've interacted with. They've just been so wonderful and really embracing that kind of side of me too. So I was able to just kind of let loose and really be the person who I've always wanted to be for so many years now. And so I was like, let's do it. I'm going to start cosplaying. And it's been so much fun since then.
Mm-hmm. What was your first printer?
My first printer was actually the Ender 5 Plus. For me, I am definitely, I jumped into something where I knew I wanted it to be a big enough build plate for like a helmet, because that's what I started with, was an Iron Man helmet. But also I tend to do a lot of research, and I was like, if I'm going to put my money into something that I want to last long, I want to make sure it does everything I need and maybe a little more. So that's why I jumped in with the Ender 5 Plus initially.
Mm-hmm. How'd that whole process work out for you? Did you go through the normal trials and tribulations that every new 3D printer goes through?
Oh my gosh, yes. And that was when I was getting in the process of, I was in Virginia before Missouri. So I had bought it right before moving, set it up, but we were just struggling to get it to work, and then moved here, and then actually got to take the time to putz with it and learn all of the stuff that like I had absolutely zero knowledge about, like 3D printers, slicing software, modeling, zero. So I was just going in balls to the walls, like trying to figure it out. And then once I did, and once I printed something successfully, I remember it was like the front plate of the Iron Man helmet, and it was just very rewarding. I was like a puppy. I was just jumping up and down. I was like, I did it. And then since then, I've really gotten way more in depth with now being able to replace like motherboards and stuff, and looking into like coding and firmware. And I'm like, okay, this is something I could see myself wanting to get to know even more.
Mm-hmm. It's a rabbit hole. Like you start going down that rabbit hole, and before you know it, you're like so deep, you're talking about stuff, and your friends are like, who are you? Like, we don't even know what you're talking about.
No, I know. And now I'm just known as the person who does 3D printing. So like when other people who I barely even talk to, who might see me on Facebook or whatever, send me a message of someone in the 3D like printing community, they send me a video and they're like, isn't this cool? And I'm like, I don't think I've talked to you since like sixth grade. How do you know that I'm doing this? So it's kind of cool to be defined as, the thing that, really embracing myself in the nerdy side, especially as a female with technology and like science and all that fun stuff is now that's kind of the defining point of who I am, which is really fun.
Do you get random people that or I shouldn't say random people, like people that you know from like Facebook or whatever, who ever reach out to you and ask you if you can print something now that you're known as that person?
Oh my God, just yesterday. Literally, I got asked to do like a Titanfall helmet, and I was like, well, maybe. But yeah, all the time, which I have done some prints and stuff for my friends, a lot of like Mandalorian helmets and stuff. But it's just, I've had to turn a lot of people down just because I don't know if I can really produce at the quality that they would want. That's something I'm really working with and trying to learn more with painting and techniques and stuff. But I have gotten a few things out to people, and hopefully with more practice, I can get more out.
Right. I've come to figure out that, like if you own a pickup truck, you're like everybody's friend, right?
Yep.
And then when you have a 3D printer, it kind of, I've realized it's like the same thing. Like just like you were saying, like I have a friend of mine, I don't think I've spoken to in 20 years, who all of a sudden reached out to me and was like, hey man, can you print me one of those Iron Man helmets? And I'm like, what's your name again? Maybe it's just me. And then I start getting a little bit pissy and I'm like, no, they're my printers. I'm doing stuff with them. I'm busy, but it is a trip. It's, do you get a lot of people who message you with questions about it?
Yeah, a lot of people have messaged me about like what kind of printer is good, because they were like, yeah, you've inspired me to get one. I've gotten Snapchats, like there was someone who I knew back in Virginia who I rarely talked to, but we interacted. And now he always sends me videos. Like you can see him get his printer, doing some small things, and now he's doing some bigger things. And I'm like, I got you on board, man. So it's been really fun to really promote it and show how creative people can be. Even like, so I work as basically I'm a dietetic intern, but I'm going to be a dietitian. And part of that is I work at hospitals, and we did like a psych rotation. So there was a bunch of our veterans going through like substance abuse programs to rehabilitate. And a lot of them were talking to me saying like, I don't know what to do with my free time. Like everyone does things where they're drinking, and I can't really engage in that without, I feel like I'm going to slip up. So I have recommended it to so many veterans looking into 3D printing or doing stuff with sculpting, building, all that stuff. And they would go and like take that feedback and ask for more information, and like told me like the next week that they were doing more research and figuring out about printers. So that was really cool to see it as a way to really work on like helping yourself and kind of growing into, new hobbies.
That is 100% true. I never thought about that. Yeah. Anybody who's an addict for anything, get them into 3D printing, because they won't have time or money for anything else after that. They'll just,
That's what's happening to me.
Be like, here's an Iron Man helmet and some sandpaper. Have fun. That'll keep you occupied all day for sure.
God. Yep, it's fixed.
So as somebody who's cosplayed and is into 3D printing, this is what I love about having these conversations, is clearly that means that you have a nerd card. Do you know at the top of your head when you got your nerd card, when the origin story of Kayla began?
That is a really good question. I feel like this happened probably around when I was like 14, where this was before even printers, but this came with like tinkering with technology. And oh my gosh, okay, so I was wheeling and dealing on Craigslist as a kid. Parents didn't know, but for 1 year I'd asked for my parents to buy me this phone, which is like, it was already even older at that point, but they gave it to me like on eBay. It's like $79 or something, and it's a phone, I can't remember, it's like the HTC HD2 or something, and it can run 2 platforms on there, so it's like Android and Windows. So you could sell the phone for like $100 more if you could mod the phone software to run the other platform. So I started with that, and then my parents didn't know, but like I was able to get like accounts through eBay and PayPal, and started getting the phone shipped to me and then selling them for the profit. So I was running my own little like thing at home.
How old were you?
I was like 12 to 14, one of those ages.
Oh my God, wow.
Yeah. I remember because it was like right after I think it was like my tonsils out or my wisdom teeth or something, where I was like on bed rest. So I had nothing to do but do that. Uh, so that came into like bartering for other electronics and working on them. And then eventually getting like Xbox, from that and computers, and then playing with those and kind of getting into the gaming community, which then during COVID, I think that's where it really hit home, is that when everyone was learning how to make bread, which I mean, I totally should have done because I could use a great sourdough, but I was like, I want to learn how to build a computer. I got this COVID check and I feel like I need something that's better than my little tiny MacBook. And so I did a lot of research and talked with a lot of people and then built my own PC. And then that obviously, like I said, catalyst into, the Iron Man and printers and stuff. So I would say full-fledged nerd card was around the time I built my computer, but there was trinkles of it leading up to that for sure.
Yeah, there's always milestones along the way. Yeah, for sure. That is really cool. I don't want to tell people what I was doing at 12, 14 years old, because I guarantee you it wasn't nearly as interesting at all. What so Marvel, other than Star Wars, is that on your radar? I mean, obviously you started with the Iron Man helmet. Yeah.
Yes. Marvel, I'm a huge fan. That's kind of where it all started for me, of getting into more of that side, and dipping my toes into Star Wars now and watching. Like I just started watching Obi-Wan show last night. Haven't gotten to episode 2 yet, but episode 1 really tugged at those heartstrings for me. I really enjoyed it. So out past that, I've gotten into DC a little bit, looking, just like watching movies and stuff, because at this point I hadn't watched any DC besides for some of the Batman movies in like a film studies class. But now, so I'm going into a little bit more of that. I really don't know where else I can explore past that. There's some like animes people talked about, but right now I'm sticking mostly with Marvel and working on a Lady Thor cosplay.
How's that coming along?
It's coming good. I've been having some issues with my printers, just with like heat creep, and I had to replace nozzles a few times, and finally got it working. So I have the helmet. I'm reprinting that because the first one came out like crap. And the next one, the new one, is like way better. My head is huge, so now I was able to resize it a little bit better to fit my head. But I have the whole chest plate done, and then I'm gonna start on the back pieces. I think I might only get a little bit done before I actually have to pack up everything to move. So right now it's all in a box, and just kind of, is it this box? No. I have like 30 boxes in my house. But I like to take my pieces and sand in the park. That way, because I live in like a 4-unit building that people can hear really well through the walls. So I was like, it'd be nice to just take it to the park and sit on a blanket and sand away for hours. So might do that this weekend, or just keep it in the box and sand it once I'm back in Florida.
So you're moving away from St. Louis?
I am.
Good for you. Good for you. Get out of there.
Have you been here?
Unfortunately, yeah. I'm wearing the hat. I'm a huge Cubs fan. So to us, like, St. Louis is like, go away. It's a joke. I mean, it actually is a beautiful city. Hi. We have to know the dog's name.
This is Marty.
Marty.
Or Martin. Here he is.
He's hello.
I FaceTime my parents sometimes since they're in Minnesota, so he's used to like to the camera to show his face. You are so handsome. Thank you for your appearance.
Everybody go back and look at the judgmental look that dog just gave me. It was so just like, okay, this guy. Okay.
Yeah, you're not anyone I remember. So for St. Louis, though, I'm from Minnesota originally, like I mentioned. So this has been the biggest city I've lived in. So it's given me a lot of great opportunities to do other things. But when I came here, it was for this internship that was only 10 months long. So I knew I wasn't going to be staying, or I hadn't planned on staying. The Midwest is the Midwest. And I was living in Virginia before this. So I was like, if I'm going to be living in like anywhere, like I would like it to be either by the mountains or the ocean. So I was applying for jobs all over the country and landed a handful. So I picked Tampa, Florida. because I was like, there's a lot of great Comic Cons down there for me, for my profession, especially sticking with the VA. There's a bunch of VA hospitals down there. So in the end, it was just like a really great opportunity. So we'll see how well my paint jobs go with
Hold
the
up.
humidity. Yeah.
I'm sure it's going to be okay. That was one of the things I found interesting talking to, Frankly Built was on the podcast, and he had to move from England to the United States and packing up all of his printers and all of his suits and all of his 3D printed stuff, and all of it survived. It did okay. So hopefully that means just St. Louis to Florida. You don't have too many problems with that. How soon are you moving?
I'm moving next weekend.
Oh,
thank God.
Well, I'm excited that you're getting out of St. Louis. That's too bad because we've got C2E2 in Chicago coming up in August. I was going to be like, hey, Kayla, you should come up to that. It'll be a blast. But you're going to be in Tampa by then.
I will be in Tampa by then, which is unfortunate. You are right with that, because there's a lot of great opportunities here that I was looking forward to doing, but I wasn't even actually expecting on getting a job that fast either. So it's crazy that, because I graduate on June 3rd, and so I will be leaving at like 11 a.m. on June 4th.
Get out.
Yeah. So luckily I get like the 2 weeks to kind of adjust, but yeah, I will be in Florida.
Oh, that sucks. So I want to talk about and the reason why I'm looking down right now is because I've got your Instagram pulled up. I like, you have several great ones. First of all, I love that Winter Soldier. Like that is really, really cool. What how did you do the arm on that?
So with that, I used like, I sanded the crap out of it and then primed it with like filler primer.
Mm-hmm.
And I put like a black gloss paint underneath, and then a metallic chrome.
Mm-hmm.
Almost all of that was Rust-Oleum.
Mm-hmm.
And
it looks fantastic.
Thank you. Yeah, it came really good and held up really well too. I'm still trying to work on like scaling of stuff, because when I was wearing it, you know how it's like separate here, just like bending. I don't know if no one's talked about it, but like I had bruises from just like bending my arm and having it tight here, but like loose here. But I did put like a metallic like sleeve underneath, like you can get like at Joann's or something, just like a piece of that, and literally just wrapped it like this.
Right.
Which helped for the look, but it also helped just for a little bit of padding too.
Yeah, scaling that's something I have yet to master. And I know like Frank and some other people told me like, oh, you just go buy the scanner and then you can scan your head or your body part or whatever it is, and that'll give you an idea to scale. That just, I don't know what it is. For some reason I'm resistant to it. I'm like, that feels like another like milestone in the rabbit hole that maybe I'm not quite ready to hit yet. Then I just keep telling myself, oh, it'll be fine. It looks good. It looks good on the computer. I'll just print it. The majority of the time I'm right. Majority of the time, every once in a while I'm like, I just did this. I was working on these Iron Man legs, and it's crazy how like the shin and the knee and everything fit great. And then the foot was like a toddler. It was just like it doesn't even. So I just like upped it to like 150% printed again, and now I feel like it fits great.
Good.
Yeah, that eventually I'm gonna have to get into scaling, but that Wonder Woman's pretty cool.
Thank you. That's a Halloween costume before anything kind of was a thing for me. So I didn't consider it like an actual like cosplay yet, but I would like to print out like the armor set, like the actual like chest piece and all that, because I've seen some really cool pieces for that. But for me, that was for a costume contest at a bar.
Did you win?
I left early because everyone really liked the costume, and with that came a lot of drinks, and I probably would have not have remembered the rest of the night if I tried to stay.
One of those. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, hey, that Stormbreaker's really cool.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Okay, so that's a big part of this too, is that I am not necessarily like a one-woman team. So my roommate, him and I do a lot of the building stuff together. We do like to participate in that kind of stuff. And he's a huge, huge fan of Thor. So he has printed out a lot of things that we've like helped each other with. So while he might like, sand some things, I might prime and paint. I tend to be the better like painter of us two, and he does more of the sanding. So because like I do have some like dexterity issues and like shakiness, and so when it comes to using like sanders for a while, like my hands tremble for like hours afterwards. So me and him do work together quite a bit. He doesn't have an Instagram, but the Stormbreaker is his, and the Thanos blade is his, and the Thor hammer as well.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm printing my own of everything.
Yeah, that's, I don't know about you. Like you said, you go to the park to sand, and good for you. That's like the part I hate the most. I cannot stand sanding. I think most of it is because I still have it in my head that it's going to take a lot less time than it should. Like I still, for some, like I'm impatient. Like I'll just go outside and sand this for 2 minutes and it'll be fine. And then I'm like frustrated that it's not done. And then my hand starts cramping and I'm like, oh, geez. Yeah. That, are you still, wow, that's cool. The Red Hood.
Oh yeah, that's also his.
Wow.
He did a great job. He put a whole costume together and was supposed to be wearing it for the Kansas City Comic-Con. But then when my whole outfit took a turn for the worst, he was just kind of focused on making sure that I got in and everything and helping me out when he could. So he didn't actually get to don the whole suit. But I do have a photo that I should post.
Yeah, that's cool. What what do you want to do? You have in your head like other stuff you still want to get to, stuff you still want to do?
Yes. Oh my gosh. So with my next move, it will be to another shared space, but hopefully after that I will get my own home. And I would like to buy a house eventually, but I would love to have a basement where it's like my movie room, and I want split down the half, like Marvel on one side, Star Wars on the other, maybe DC in the back, and just like literally make everything that I wanted, all the memorabilia for everything. As you could probably see on that Instagram, there was like the wall that I was starting with all of the Marvel props and stuff. And so I want it to be like a completely comprehensive set, which I have like the Loki scepter to add, a bunch of the stuff from the shows. I have not printed out anything of that yet. So I would like a whole helmet collection. And we talked about even making like a command center down there with my PC stuff, and making it be like Tony Stark's setup where it's like the half circle. And have like an Iron Man like top bust basically hanging from the ceiling and stuff. So for me, I'm a huge fan of like the Iron Man suits. A lot of people are doing them, and I've watched people walk in them and seeing like their comfort level. I'm not very coordinated, so if I was to print one, I think it would be for like the prop situation and keeping a really cool like maybe lit up one in a basement. But that's the grand scheme. So we'll see how fast I can get there. But otherwise, I would like to just work. I really want to get into learning more about 3D modeling and trying my hand at that. Because the issue that I'm running into a lot, and why I've cosplayed as mostly male characters, is that there is very limited female files available for characters. And if they are available, they're usually not like the whole sets or not necessarily very accurate. So I would like to be able to do that not only for myself, but if I could learn how to do the modeling, I can like produce it for other people, because I think it would really help to get more female like 3D printers, but also just more cosplayers to kind of joining the team.
Mm-hmm. You're absolutely right, and it feels like, and I don't know because I've never looked at obviously a file for a female character and thought, how would I print that? But my initial impressions, and believe me, I 100% hate to sound this way to anybody listening, but I think it makes a difference when a guy is making it. And I don't mean that in a sexist sense. I just mean it in the sense of like understanding feel and comfort level for the wearer. Of course, some of them are terrible with that with some of the male ones too. But modeling, that'd be really awesome if you got into modeling. I feel like, and I talked about this in the last episode, is that modelers are like the unspoken hero of like the 3D printing cosplay world, because one modeler can come up with a fantastic file, and then like hundreds, if not thousands of people print it out, finish it, and wear it to cons. And everybody goes, oh my God, that looks amazing. And it all has to stem from that person who wants to sit there for hours staring at their computer screen, getting the perfect model made. That is cool. Yeah, I think some of those people are doing like clinics on those now.
Yes, and that's something I want to be a part of too. I've seen some that do classes and stuff like that over Zoom. There's some maker spaces that do the in-person kind of classes where they demonstrate too. So I'm going to try to do as much as I can, especially with this move, and kind of once I'm adjusted, since this is finally like the first step into like a career where I'm not in school anymore and I can actually have hobbies again. I think it would be a really fun thing to sit down and try to get really involved in the community down there too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. That well, that'd be the nice thing about down there is that you'll get to paint and get to go to cons year round.
Yeah.
Here in the Midwest, it's like maybe half the year if you're lucky. It's brutal. And I don't know if you ran into this, but that's what had me like so frustrated this past year, because it was like January, February, into March. I was like printing stuff, and then they were just like sitting off to the side because it was like 10 degrees outside, and I'm like, you can't go outside and paint in that,
No, I feel you there. And we have it so like my apartment set up where what should be where the kitchen like dining table would be is where my printer setup is, which there's a door on one, like literally right next to it, and then at the end of the hallway past the living room is another door. But my apartment's only like 700 square feet, so that span is very like probably only 20 feet long, if that. So the draft from the cold would come in, and you could literally see it in the print where if the door was open for a while or whatever, or it was really cold where our heater sucks because this building is old, or if my bedroom door was open, since I'm attached to a sunroom that also brings in a lot of cold air. Like, it was so cold in here. I had like a heater running at night sometimes. It would affect the prints too. So it's really interesting when it comes to the weather, how much that affects, and humidity. It's really annoying. I'm starting to have weird issues with the humidity now. They say Florida is bad. Like St. Louis is not good for humidity or allergies.
Right. That is true. Farmers, I understand it, but there are a lot of times in the Midwest where, and I'm a lifelong Midwesterner. Like I've lived here my entire life, and I don't know why. Like, I don't know why people settled here. Like farming, I understand, like hundreds of years ago, like, oh, I'll just take all this land and I'm going to raise corn. But why those of us who aren't farmers still live here? Because it is so hot and so humid in the summer, and it is so brutally cold in the winter. And the only reason I'm here right now, still me and my wife, is because of family. Like, we have family in the area, and that's that. I think that's the anchor. That's what keeps you.
Oh my gosh, yeah, no, that is the anchor. I had so many people ask me why I was moving from when I was first moving out of state, and I was like, why wouldn't I? There's like it's cold, and so my parents are farmers, and so I grew up in the middle of nowhere. I'm like, what am I going to look at? The corn? Like, there's nothing pretty here. No offense to those people, but it definitely goes to show, like, when it comes to being able to enjoy your environment and the people around it. Like, I was in a town of 800 people versus like somewhere in St. Louis where you get more opportunities, you get to be more connected with a variety of people. And I think that's what it really took to kind of jump into stuff like this too, is I could actually find people with things in common here versus my little hick town where people drove tractors to school.
We grew up in a very similar town. Mine was the same way. We had tractor day every year. It was a little tiny farm town in the middle of northern Illinois. And I mean, I still know a lot of those people. I'm not going to bash them, but yeah, I know exactly what you mean. Thank God. Like, I do have to say, thank God we have the internet.
Oh, yeah, true.
And I hate saying this stuff on the podcast because it just gives away how old I am. But I want to say I got on the internet for the first time when I was 17. Prior to that, you had nothing, dude. Like, there was no interacting outside of your little world. And now it's like, oh my gosh, you can be in St. Louis and I can be here and we can record a podcast over the internet. So thank God. And nerds unite. That is the fantastic thing about the internet and social media, is being able to interact with, the kind of community that we're in. And I love the way earlier you had mentioned about how embracing the community has been for you, which is awesome. Like that's one of the things I love about this community is that, I mean, you're always going to have your little tiny bad apples here and there, but by and large, I've found it to be just a fantastic community of people, everybody willing to give their time and energy when they wouldn't have to. You know what I mean? Has that generally been the experience for you as well?
Yes, and like 100 times over. With the people that I've met, they've been so kind at explaining things. I think it's really nice for them to see someone who's really interested. And for me, getting into it later in the game where this wasn't always my upbringing or I didn't have the tools to kind of teach myself, I think it shows a lot when people see another person actively trying, maybe getting outside of their comfort zone and, wanting to learn. So people have been really great at, welcoming me and advice and continuing to support me as I get better. Because like I look at some of the things I posted initially, being like, "Oh my God, check this out, so cool," and everyone's like, "Yeah." Even at the very beginning, when I wasn't producing that like great of stuff or whatever, there are the times where people do message me, giving me advice on things I didn't necessarily ask for, which is a little annoying. So there's been some people who try to fix things for me when I didn't ask for them to fix things and like I was learning it myself. So I like it when I can ask for it and receive it. When people just tell me things that I'm doing wrong, it's not always, the most welcoming experience then. It's kind of frustrating. But I can see where the intention is just to help someone. But yeah, so it can be a hit or miss, but the thing I really liked here so far is the St. Louis. We have like a 3D printing meetup, and when I was starting to work on my new printer, like I knew exactly who to talk to. They were so kind, welcoming, and there was a lot of activities to be doing. So I'm hoping to find the same thing in Tampa, but people have just been like so happy and positive, and even people who don't really know much about it, they seem to be seeing how happy it makes me and how positive like the experiences I'm having and showing off these really cool things. So I think across the board, even people who I didn't expect to show me some support are still doing that, which is really nice.
Mm-hmm. Agreed. Has that pretty much been your same experience going to cons too?
Yes. So with my experience going to cons, since this limited, I've only been to like the 2 Kansas City ones and like a little one. There've been a lot of great like comments. I've met a couple people, follow each other on Instagram, showing support and asking about like methods and people teaching, which has been really great. In the last convention, I met like Cult Cosplay, Ryro Studios, and Daniel Build or something. So I met guys since Ryro Studios is from St. Louis, so like they all knew I was going. I knew they were going and we found each other. I'm terrible at hearing my name though. So like we passed each other and didn't know it. And then they're like, "Kayla." I'm like, "Oh," but we got to talk and I got to really see their stuff in action, and kind of bond over that and have friends that I met, even if it was briefly. But yeah, they were really cool there too.
So, excuse me, Ryro's down there too. Man, is it like, am I just now finding out that St. Louis is like this weird little hotbed for like 3D printed cosplayers? Or
it is. It literally is a hub. There's been like the arc reactors where they have like our maker space here, and online there's a Facebook group that has I think like 700 some people a part of it. So there's so many people here, and I think also with a micro center being in St. Louis. And having those like Ender deals is that a lot of people easily have access to printers now, can get them at like a more affordable price with those deals. But yeah, no, it's huge here. I didn't know. I think he messaged me right when I first moved here when I tagged something, and I was like, "Who are you?" I was like, "Okay." So like we didn't really actually talk a lot until like these last few months. It was cool to kind of get to know him a little bit more, even though I'm leaving. But
mm-hmm. That's cool. I did not know that. I just talked to him a week ago, I think. Yeah. I'm one of the helmets that he has on his Patreon. I don't know if you've seen it. It's the organic Iron Man one where it has like all like the crazy grooves and stuff in it. Yeah, I'm in the process of printing that one right now. I just held my hand up. I've got primer and paint all over my hand from what I was doing just prior to this podcast. That's awesome. What do you have any characters that you want to cosplay in the future?
Yes. Okay. So with Lady Thor, there's that. But I really wanted to do like either like Ciri or Yennefer from The Witcher, or even maybe I don't know. I have thought about it because I want to try to do different mediums when it comes to like leather work and sewing, and those are things I want to learn everything, honestly. But I would like to get more involved in like the stuff like the sewing. So I was thinking about doing something like that. Because I really like the sword too. Like I've seen them at like Comic Cons where you can buy like an actual metal sword, like his sword in the show, and it looks really cool. And I just want it above my bed, like a real metal sword, so I can scare off anyone who comes in if threatened.
Like that?
Yeah. Just like that. So I have her in mind, or them in mind, but I don't really know much more for other people. Fennec really grew on me, but I don't know when it comes to like ethnicity if I don't want to, overstep my welcome there.
Nah, I don't think so. That's I don't know. Maybe it's just me. I sort of feel like because it's a sci-fi character, it's a-okay. Like if for example, I've always wanted to like cosplay as a samurai. Then I feel it's a bit different because that's a cultural thing, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, and you can honestly, especially as like a white guy, you can't walk around doing a samurai voice without like everybody just being like, you are a racist. Like there's no way. But I think with a sci-fi character, yeah, why not? I mean, if you can, for sure. And her helmet is so cool. That is one of the coolest looking helmets that
I feel like it's one of the most the ones that have the most visibility, surprisingly. Or like I put my head in a Mandalorian helmet and I'm like, I cannot see, but hers actually can like gap open.
Mm-hmm. That is the one downside to those Mando helmets, is that it's like, because I've got one too, and I printed it, and the first time I got it off the printer and just put it on my head, I was like, oh my God. Like, how do you fight anybody in one of these things,
That and hearing. When I was on stage for the Boba Fett thing, I could not hear anyone. So I was just like, and then walked off, and I couldn't see either. Like I struggle with visibility, and so with the tinted visor too, I was like trying to find the stage, and they're like, I have like low lighting issues, and so I'm like, someone help me, I can't see. It's like I have my eyes closed, which has sealed the deal now that I will no longer cosplay anyone with a helmet that is tinted or I can't see through it very well. Or that's why like the Lady Thor helmet, like don't have to really worry about that. Or things with like jetpacks or backpacks, which my first two, like Taskmaster and Boba Fett both had one, and my jetpack, the wind in Kansas City was so strong that when I was trying to get out, the door like slammed on me and literally shifted my whole body. I'm not like a light person by any means. So the wind was strong and it had ripped my jetpack off the magnets. Oh. Like I had those like industrial magnets, as well as just like a suspension system, and it knocked everything off in the like, and then shattered on the ground.
Oh no.
Yeah, it was so bad, but in the end, I was kind of thankful for it, because I would have realized if that would have happened on the floor, because people bump into you all the time and it was really heavy, I was like, I was going to be cranky anyway of trying to just hold that heavy thing up the whole time.
That's always like the interesting thing to talk to people about, is the chronicles of their trials and tribulations of going to cons, because you hear so many people like, oh, everything was great, I got my outfit across the country, I got there just before I walked in the door, my whole shin piece shattered. And it's like, oh yeah, I'm building a suit right now, which is going to be my first like con cosplay thing, and I'm trying to learn from everybody ahead of time. I'm trying to like take into account everything everybody says. Oh, this part will break, this might break, make sure you bring super glue, make sure you bring clear tape. I'm trying to, but I know ultimately it's like a Murphy's Law thing that something's going to go wrong anyway. Cool. I like it. What so yeah, we said like, and the nice thing about the Lady Thor is that you don't have to wear the helmet 24/7.
Yeah,
that is the nice thing about that character. So you said Fanique shot, and what else you got?
That's all I really have for right now. I would like to kind of dabble in more. There's a lot of great shows and movies coming out in the next few months, so hopefully I can get some inspiration there. But I have not really thought too much about it. I know I would like to. Hopefully, I'm going to take my time with the Lady Thor one so I can wear it multiple times because so far it's been like a one con and done for most of my outfits because they literally fall apart. I'm working on that as well. Velcro has helped. But I have been really open to ideas. A lot of people giving me like redhead characters that they think I would be good at because I do have very fair skin and kind of the similar features thanks to my heritage. So that's been kind of fun to look into. But I don't know. There like a lot of we watched the X-Men movies recently too, and Rogue is kind of cool. I like her. So that might be something I try to do as well.
Mm-hmm. Rogue's a badass. She doesn't get near as much credit, and I'm not knocking on the actor or anything because I enjoyed the X-Men movies, but they never fully in those movies did her character justice. But you're talking to like an old school X-Men fan here who like is way too deep to the point where probably nothing will make me happy. But I accept that ahead of time. That's okay. What all redhead characters have been suggested to you? That's got me curious.
They have suggested, I should look. There has been some like Tess. There has been it's hard to think of on the spot now, but
yeah, sorry about that.
No, that's okay. Literally, if you name one, it's Scarlett Johansson, Black Widow, Wanda, because she's her hair is getting more red as the shows are going on, which I don't know is on purpose. Her, so like pretty much like the standard. There's been some other in like some animes that people wanted me to do, and I was like, where is all this red hair coming from? But I guess my hair is like kind of a mix, so I look a little bit more ginger than not. But we will see how that goes because I was planning on dyeing my hair, and if I could have it, be something that's accurate would be cool. But we'll see.
Right. Well, I'm excited that I'm hoping that you can get to Camp Tampa. And if you can't find a community down there, you can create one. That's true. The size of the population that it has, I have to imagine that there's something down there,
Yeah. And I feel like Florida in itself kind of attracts misfits because if you have to move anywhere where you're not really accepted, why not go somewhere where it's warm and pretty?
Yeah. Yeah, it's like the St. Louis of Florida. So yeah, why not? Yeah. Well, okay. Well, hey, we're about getting up against the clock here. Do you got anything you want to say to folks on your way out?
I guess the only thing I would say is if anyone who hasn't followed me or has seen my work before, feel free to drop by and give me some ideas of what I should be doing, or if you do have any advice, since I'm asking, to just drop anything that you think would be helpful, especially in an environment like Florida. If anyone's living there already, it'd be really cool to hear about like what's going on there if I just can't find it myself, or tips on how to start a space too, because I think that would be something I would like to take the initiative on if there isn't.
I love it. 100%. Well, we'll keep following, and anybody who's listening, it is built by Beans on Instagram. Obviously if you're watching this on YouTube or you saw this on Instagram, her tags right there so you can see it. But if you're just one of the people who listens to this podcast who just does it purely audio, definitely go to Instagram, type that in, check it out. There's a lot of cool stuff there. And I love it. We'll keep following you and excited to see where it goes from there.
Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you so much. All right, so that was the episode with Kayla. I had so much fun talking to her. I hope you enjoyed listening to it. I want to thank each and every one of you out there for liking, subscribing, all those wonderful things. We're going to keep doing this, man. We got a lot of great guests coming up on the podcast. I want to thank each and every one of you for your support. I'm going to get out of here before I go. I want to say I love all of you. Hope you take care of each other, and we'll talk to you next time.